Okay, we're back to Blender and we're gonna now import the walking animation. So what are we gonna do is that whatever current asset or scene is loaded, let's erase all about it. You select it, press X. So the scene is now empty. We're gonna click on import and here is the walking animation. Now the walking animation is gonna be very interesting because we're gonna be able to show the root motion translation in action. It looks like we have 63 frames. So let's take a look how things look by default. So we're gonna click play. Okay, something to pay attention to, which is part of the magic that is gonna be fixed with Lumbermixalot, is that the root bone we know is the hip. And we can see that in the animation, you know, the character is moving forward. Now, let me pause it to avoid distraction. Let's move a little bit. So this dot here is showing you the parent transform of the armature, which is embedded in this object, the armature object. As we play by default, that node doesn't move at all. Okay, that means that if we export this asset as is, there is technically no root motion, so it's only local movement. So as I move the animation frames, see that this dot doesn't move. So let's extract the root motion, and all we need to do is click here on this button, extract root motion. But before doing so, let's take a look at the armature node here. There is no animation data on it yet because this is the node that is going to get the new animation data once we click extract root motion. So let's do this. And look, there is now some yellow. This is the way for Blender to say there is keyframe data on this part of the root transform. So now as we play back, pay attention to the dot that is in there. You see the dot now moves with the character. That means we extracted root motion from the hip bone, and you can see also there is some minor fluctuations in the data as we move, but it's okay. You can actually clear that with the other options that in root motion post-processing. For example, we only care about the translation is a forward translation on the y-axis. Okay, so if we really want our data neat and clean, we can, for example, force the x-axis translations to be 0. We can also force the z-axis translations to 0, and we keep the y-axis as is. And when we clear the data and we replay back, look at the root motion now that in all of the axes, in the x-axis, we don't see any more fluctuations. That data is clean. And you can also see it right here on the transform data. As we've changed the keyframes, we can see that X and Z is perfect 0 while the actual move forward in Y. So those are some post-processing options you can do. Not only that, what happens if we force the y-axis translation to 0 too, and we clear again that data? Look what happens. Now the character, you have a motion in place. So even though the armature data has a motion, you basically clear any motion data. And sometimes these effects are, you want to do this kind of a clearing data because you want to keep the actor in place, or you want to do some interesting animation effects. Sometimes you don't want root motion and you want to move your character with a gameplay code instead of root motion data. But this is what an example of how to use the post-processing options that the plugin gives you. Nonetheless, let's do Control Z, and I think we're back at the beginning. The way to know that we're back at the beginning is because the rotation in X says 90 degrees and there is no more keyframe data. So we're basically back at the beginning, and we're gonna click Extract Root Motion again. And as we can see, we extracted all the root motion. You can see the dot is moving, everything is perfect. And let's export. So from now on, because there is some small metadata file which is stored here with this option, cache FBX export options. This is a new feature in Lumbermixalot compared to the previous version, where it knows, it remembers what characters you're working on. So from then on, you just import and click export because it's saved in that metadata, the target directory for your game. So it's very helpful. And now you just click export and it gives you success. And now you have your walking animation. So let's go to O3DE and see how the walking animation looks like. So we're in O3DE. Here is our character on the idle animation. But let's open now the walking animation. And remember, the first time we export, we need to change the root bone to root node.armature. And we're going to click Update, Success. So we're going to unselect the idle motion, and we're going to click on now the walking motion. And there it is. Need to open the animation editor and make sure on the animation editor we enable the root motion extraction on the actor itself. Let's do that.